Same
So
thing happened, yeah.
she knew about Doctor Who way before I did. So
She's the cool one.
she was the one who introduced me to it. We've talked about you at least 3 times
Oh, cool.
on the show
You're
before.
famous.
Yeah, so yeah, we've name checked you several times, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So, but before we get into the show, last week we totally forgot to talk about John Hurt being in that Paul McCartney music video. So I went back and I added like a little like monologue of me talking about it, but like I just feel like we've got to give that a second chance because like I put it down in like my show notes that I often do like beforehand, and then I totally skipped it and forgot to talk about it. It's like, don't forget to talk about this. Totally forgot to talk about it. So, Melissa and Mark, do you guys even like know that song, "Take It Away" by Paul McCartney?
No, I looked it up when you brought it up. I had no idea about any of that.
I think
It's a
I'd
cool
heard
song.
it before, but I'd never seen the video.
It's so weird because Tug of War is okay. Tug of War is possibly my favorite McCartney album. It's not the best McCartney album ever. Like that's probably Ram, but like it's my favorite. And I had this weird experience where like my mom used to play that. She would play Tug of War or she'd play Thriller when she'd take us to preschool when we were kids. And so I would hear those songs in the car, and when I was like 12, 13, I got really really into the Beatles, and for like almost an entire year that's all I listened to.
It
And
was really annoying.
I
I was like, this is horrible. Why aren't you listening to Stone Temple Pilots? And stuff like that. And then he's like, well, you liked the Monkees, right? And I was like, yeah, because the Monkees are hilarious. And so then he made me watch Help
yeah.
and Hard Day's Night. So now I like the Beatles too, although never as much as you.
Yeah, so so I got really into it, but like I remembered listening to Tug of War, but I didn't really remember anything about it except that Ebony and Ivory is on the album. That's fucking so like I went and bought it and I put it on and I had this really surreal experience. I heard it and it was like I remembered every note in those like first 3 songs, including "Take It Away," and I'm like, so it's this weird feeling where like I rediscovered this thing from my childhood that I'd completely forgotten, but was like unlocked in the deep recesses of my memory. So like, and then I found out that John Hurt was in the music video, so it's like, yeah, double weird. So.
Okay, that's my.
What's your monster? Kate, this is a podcast. It's an audio format. People can't see your hand.
Can't hear it.
But yes. So to those listening at home, Kate just it was a claw.
Yeah.
It's the claw.
It came out of my chest.
You're afraid of the claw.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my.
Hello, my ragtime girl.
Let's actually introduce ourselves. I am Andy Wilson, Citizen Bot from Big Shiny Robot. I am the no longer a Who virgin. With me today, a very special guest is my sister Kate.
Hello.
Kate, what do you have to say about yourself?
My name is Kate. I write online under Kate McIlvain at girlpluggedin.com, but I kind of haven't because I'm in grad school right now. So
you're in grad school right now and you're a blogger, but you are also like a pretty high-ranking San Diego Comic-Con volunteer. You've done
nice.
Comic-Con for how many years?
I've done Comic-Con for 10 years. I also got lucky one year and I got to be a volunteer, a staff volunteer at Gallifrey 1, which is one of the big
sweet
American Doctor Who conventions. And it is now like harder to get into than Comic-Con. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, Comic-Con tickets this week sold out in an hour.
Yeah, Gallifrey won. It went on. It crashed, and so basically everybody who went the year before got tickets and got an email, but I didn't get the email because I wasn't special.
Oh no! But you've had multiple run-ins with John Barrowman and
Yes, John Barrowman likes my boobs. That's a big claim to fame. He likes most, but he and Eve Miles actually was like, "Have you met John yet?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he was very nice. So did he talk about the girls?" Yeah, he really likes them, but he's afraid of umbrellas. So that's my interesting John Barrowman trivia.
He's afraid of umbrellas.
He's afraid of umbrellas.
That's just weird.
I made a TARDIS dress. I've done TARDIS dresses since they've kind of become a thing. And one year I had a square parasol, and I put panels on that said police box, police box, police box, and snog box on the back. And and so I wanted a picture under my TARDIS umbrella that said snog box with John Barrowman, and he was afraid of it, so it didn't quite make it into the picture.
I think he was probably afraid it would mess up his beautiful hair.
He actually said, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey." I'm like, "It's okay. We all have our weird things." And he's like, "Yes, you do." But yeah, he's quite fun to meet in person.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
See, and this is why Kate should have the podcast, not me, because she's way more interesting and funny. And that's way more to talk about Doctor Who than I do. So thanks for being here with us today, Kate, who is visiting Austin for the first time. And we just got back from the Salt Lick, famous barbecue place. And
Love that place.
They had a TARDIS.
Yes, apparently the Doctor is there for the ribs, although we think that he should have gone for the burnt ends.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
So yeah, that was good times. And with me, as always, Mark. Since day one, you've been on every episode.
Yeah, straight out of South Texas. Are we still doing that? Did the straight out of fade away? Anyway,
I think it kind of did, but let's bring it back because I think
let's bring it back.
Yeah, totally.
I'm a librarian. I'm as nerdy as nerd can be, and I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I've been a big Doctor Who fan since I was a kid, and I'm so glad that it came back with Eccleston, which we will be focusing on today. And this podcast is probably my favorite thing to do every week.
Mark's been my Obi-Wan through all of this. He's the one who's trained me up. So I don't know if that makes me Anakin or Luke, but one of the two.
Interesting.
And then Melissa, who has been on not every episode, but she's been on every good episode.
Oh,
Because
since you take the best for last.
Exactly. Because
yeah,
they're never the same without you, Melissa.
Right. I mean, somebody's got to set you guys straight, and that's kind of
that's right.
part of the function that I feel like I play, because whenever I'm not on, you guys always ignore the women's issues in episodes. Always. I mean, we could get back into some of the arguments we had about this, but we won't. But yeah, I feel like I very much provide a different perspective from the Y chromosomes over there, and so that's why I'm here.
Needed, absolutely needed. As much. Okay, hang on one second. Jackson, Andy, you guys are being way too loud. Can you please quiet down? If you can't, you're gonna have to ask Gloria to go home. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Fight the power, Jackson. Make some noise, buddy.
Yeah, Melissa, as much as I try and be a feminist, there are always failings there, and so I always love having you on here, and I don't know, there's just always a different energy than when it's just me and Mark, and that's great, and so thank you for always being here and telling us, not only setting us straight, but it's my favorite is when you and I get to gang up on Mark. I like
That's
to,
happened a lot lately, hasn't it?
yeah, I know.
I hate you guys.
When he's really wrong, that's when.
Yep.
So that's us.
Now I am the master.
Like about Snowpiercer. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Jesus. All right.
So, a couple of weeks ago, we lamented the fact that Doctor Who was leaving American streaming services, Hulu and Netflix. But we got word this week it's coming back. Only problem is it's only coming back to Amazon Prime. So unless you've got an Amazon Prime subscription, which by the way, worth it,
Yes.
you're going to be SOL. But this is my plug for getting an Amazon Prime subscription. There's a lot of good content on there that now is exclusive to Amazon Prime. Their original programming, some of which we've talked about on here and how good it is worth checking out. And it's $99 a year. That's tough to do in all one big chunk. Here's what we do in our house. Every year for her birthday, my wife gets an Amazon Prime resubscription.
You're so cheap. You're like, oh my God. You're the worst husband ever.
No, that's what she wants. She loves it.
Oh, I thought you meant like that. I'm giving this as a gift. I'm not giving her a choice.
That we rationalize it is it comes out in November every year, and one year I think I spent $200 shipping Christmas presents, and so I'm like, so you're saying that for the price of me shipping all my Christmas presents, I can get music streaming, I can get movie streaming, and I can get free shipping on all this crap.
Exactly.
I'm for it. And
Yeah.
also, I have to say, Amazon, as a cosplayer, Amazon is where I get most of my art supplies and, like, weird niche, like, gadgets.
Yeah, we end up buying a ton of like school supplies, which is why my wife loves it so much because it's like, oh, I need a ream of construction paper or I need laminating sheets. Like she laminates so much stuff. We have a home laminator and like
Oh.
I know that's very
Damn.
silly. But hey, it's hashtag teacher problems, you know. Anyway, so but like we used to go out to all of the Targets. We would go to like 5 different Targets around Austin and buy them out of these laminating pouches because they were so hard to get, and they'd only have like 3 or 4 of them in each store. And when there would be a big job, it would be like that's all we need, and we'd run out. Now we just go on Amazon. She buys a whole bunch of them. They get shipped here for free. And sometimes we don't need the free shipping. We're like, yeah, we'll take the like 5-day shipping, and they give us like a free like a dollar off an ebook or something, and it adds up, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yes, it's a big chunk of money to throw down all at once. Find one time a year, like you said, Christmas. For me, it's my wife's birthday in June, so we do it, and we're like, that's when we do it, and we're gonna pay for it, and then it kind of pays for itself. Think about the cost of like having to buy all of those Doctor Who Blu-rays and DVDs. Yeah, totally worth it to have the streaming around. So, Melissa, I think you've talked about Amazon Prime. Do you have your own, or do you borrow a friend's account?
I borrow friends. I'm cheap. What am I gonna say?
Worth it.
If I can borrow my friends and I'm not in a hurry to get my stuff usually, if it takes 7 to 10 days to get my crap, I'm cool with that. I'm not, I'm not like an impatient person. So, but now that they've raised the minimum to like $49 for free shipping instead of $35 like it was, I'm like, maybe I need to bite the bullet. But that's what they wanted, I'm sure, and I kind of hate them for it. So
Yep.
I'm still kind of being defiant because I don't want to do it just because they forced me into it. So I for now I'm just not going to do it. But and as much as I love Doctor Who, I do have some of the seasons on DVD, so it's not like I'm in a hurry to get Amazon Prime just to watch that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm cheap though, so I don't. And I'm about to put the down payment on my next vacation, so it's not happening right now.
Yeah, makes sense. Kate, what were you saying?
Oh, I was gonna say the other thing about Prime is if you buy their preferred Prime crap, it's like I just got like $5 of Scotch tape and in the mail, and it was free shipping. But I randomly need stuff like $5 worth of Scotch tape.
That's a lot of Scotch tape. What are you doing?
Jim Carrey's coming over to my house, and we're gonna tape our faces so we look like Sloth from the Goonies.
No, good answer. Good answer. I approve. Yeah. So Amazon Prime. Thank you for sponsoring our podcast. I expect my check in the mail. You're welcome for this free advertising.
Future podcasters, this is not a good business model.
No. This is not.
We just gave a crap ton of airtime to Jeff Bezos. Nice.
I keep doing that.
We're paying for them to become Skynet.
Basically. Yeah. The singularity is going to happen when like Amazon, the NSA, Google, and Facebook all merge into one, and
we are alive.
Then we're all dead. We're all completely dead. So let's talk about Christopher Eccleston.
Yay.
And his time as the Doctor and his time since then. I don't know where exactly we should begin, because I'd want to start with like a really like good highlight, but I feel like he's had a really uneven time since he left Doctor Who. There's some good stuff, but I don't know. Do y'all have a favorite place you want to start with Eccleston, or?
You know what? Since we're probably going to skip Brian Fuller for the 5th week in a row, we should talk about his stint in Heroes.
We definitely should.
Woohoo!
Kate can tell you that's exactly where I'm at on the IMDb page right now.
Yeah.
So
Oh, cool.
we were just looking at that. Yeah. So Heroes. He played an interesting role, the invisible guy.
With a deep and abiding love of pigeons.
Yes, he really, really loved those pigeons.
Loved those pigeons.
And hated horn-rimmed glasses guy.
Yeah.
Really hated him. So, but I don't know. I thought actually, like, I really loved that first season of Heroes, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he was actually one of the things that really elevated that series, because when he came in, it showed that there have been other people who have had these abilities manifest, and they've treated them in totally different ways. And the fact that he's like, I don't want to get involved, I'm walking away from all of this, and he's got pretty freaking cool powers, like invisible man powers. What would you do with that? A lot of people would really abuse them, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm going to completely withdraw. So I always thought he was great, perfectly cast in that role, and really interesting. I wish they'd been able to do more with that character, but there you go.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with Heroes. They had a pretty good character. They should have done more with him, and they just didn't. Just like with the whole series, they had a good idea, they had a really good run, and then they just completely let that fall by the wayside. So yeah, I would have liked to have seen him more involved in the narrative of Heroes, but.
Well, do you kind of think that in Heroes maybe he did the same thing with Doctor Who, where he's like, I like your idea, I give you guys, I'll give you guys a certain amount of my time, and then I'm done. Because when he went in to Doctor Who, he made it very clear he was only there for the first season.
Well, not according to what I've read, though. Well, I read that he had a falling out with Davies.
Oh.
That he didn't like the direction they were going in, and he was kind of right, because a lot of the stuff that we gripe about in Doctor Who is during the Davies era.
Yeah, Davies' writing was very uneven, I feel, and you get some really
Extremely.
weird bad guys with Davies, like, ugh.
Like starting early.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, this Levine is so weird.
Yeah.
And,
Has your brother told you that he loves the episode with the tile relationship?
With Love and Monsters.
With
I
Love and
love
Monsters?
Love and Monsters. I know it's a terrible episode.
Oh, with the ELO?
Yeah.
Dancing Around, that is one of my favorite episodes of
Oh my
Doctor
God!
Oh, it's genetic. Oh
My God! It's a family thing.
Supernatural.
Oh my God!
Get those kind of meta, but like, these different voices telling you Doctor Who narrative stories. Those are some of my favorite. Like, sorry, not to change doctors on you, but Blink is really phenomenal, and David Tennant's barely in it.
But Blink was phenomenal. Like, I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
I can agree. Like, Love and Monsters is kind of terrible.
It's kind of terribly fun.
But
both of you. But there's something wrong with both of you.
And Moaning Myrtle gets sucked into his stomach. I mean, that's just creepy.
And lives on as a tile.
Yeah.
And then they insinuate that they get intimate. Like the dude gets intimate with a tile.
It's
People have been intimate with weirder stuff.
It's disgusting.
You know what, Marco, what it is? There's something in the water in Lake Silencio that they drank growing up, and this is the result.
The Utah thing.
No,
It's the Utah thing.
It probably is. So, Mark, when we're in Salt Lake City in a couple weeks, let's go around.
I will bring my own water.
Well, bring your own water, yes. But also, well, actually, I don't know that like Texas water is any better. It's all anyway. Different thing, but when we're in Utah, you should like ask around and be like, "What do you think of Love and Monsters?" And I bet you that like people will be like, "Oh yeah, it's a great episode."
Oh God, no! I don't even want to know that people really like this.
Yeah. So, because people are strange in Utah,
Yeah.
that is absolutely true, and
That's true.
it's a strange pocket of Who fandom.
Although, if it's any like defense, I was in California at the time that I was watching Love and Monsters.
Well, I was in Texas, so I mean, it's not like
Yeah, this is clearly something that happened, before you guys moved.
we got genetically mutated by the water in Provo.
Yeah, it's that Geneva Steel problem.
Yep. Yep.
People get
No, it's a fixed point in time
Davies.
back in Provo.
You're so sorry.
Not even Time Lords can change this.
I like the.
I'm sorry about Love and Monsters. Fixed point in time. We can't fix it.
I like the shout out to Geneva Steel in Utah County. That's gonna be like 2 people listening got that joke and they're like, that's hilarious. We love it. That's our favorite super fun site.
If you know if you remember like the 3-eyed fish in The Simpsons,
yeah,
from the power plant in The Simpsons, that's what I always imagined swimming around in Utah Lake by this plant that
gross.
closed when we first moved to Utah.
Yeah, not to be confused with Lake Silencio, Utah Lake, but not Lake Silencio. That's in the southern part of the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lake Powell.
Yeah.
Lake Powell, not Lake Silencio. Anyway.
Whatever.
That's
You're
an
in
old
Texas, it's Silencio.
Yeah, it's Silencio. Let's just move on.
Yeah, Lake
All right,
Silencio. That's fine.
So
Anyway,
deep and abiding love of pigeons.
yeah, more about Eccleston and how difficult he was to work with. Let's talk about the difficulty of G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra.
Do we
Yeah.
have to? Isn't this like what were those episodes that we just like spent maybe 30 seconds each discussing them and
That's
felt
true.
like it was better leaving it there. We didn't need to say anything else. I feel like that's what G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra is. We can say it in 30 seconds, which is to say, just say it sucked over and over for 30 seconds and then just stop.
Yeah,
We
But
don't.
his beautiful face.
that's the one thing that I want to bring up is that scene at the end where he actually becomes Destro and like gets the metal grafted onto his face is like one of the best worst acting scenes ever in the history of cinema.
My husband likened it to the Dothraki crown in Game of Thrones that they gave oh golly, I can't remember, but Daenerys' brother.
Yeah, that guy,
Yeah,
that
guy.
pendejo who we don't like.
Yeah, we don't like him either.
but but see, here's the thing: is like Eccleston like approached this, and it was like yes, yes, this is everything I've always wanted. Yes, absolute power. Ah, it burns, it burns, it burns. No, no, what have I done? And you're just like, okay, dude, you're so smart, and you were gonna like graft liquid metal to your face. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Like,
He's like, maybe if I put lotion first, it'll soothe the burn.
Or it gets the hose again.
yeah,
It's so good.
I just that whole movie didn't make sense. I mean, I guess he was trying to make do with the script that they gave him,
I
but
suspect there was something about a money truck that had been backed up about that movie.
I hope so. I mean, I hope he and Joseph Gordon-Levitt like got lots and lots and lots of money for that movie because
Like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's
doesn't
a,
much to be on the West End, so I'm going to do G.I. Joe.
well, that's a saving grace that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was there too. So like, he got suckered into this as well. So I wonder how it was sold to them, like that they thought this might be a good idea. I have no idea.
Actually,
You know,
from what I understand, they changed the script a lot during filming.
that's it.
From what I understand, they changed it a lot, and they also wanted to like take advantage of the fame of certain people that had like gotten more famous or something, and so they changed around a lot of crap. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true or not, but it would make sense because you'd like to think that more top tier actors like that wouldn't sign on to something that was that bad, but you never know. I mean, I don't know, but all I know is that's a low light of his post-2 career. This is not something that, you know,
That's something to be
we,
proud of.
yeah,
yeah.
I hope that Brinks truck was very very large. I really really do because yeah, that was. I mean, but I don't think that like. I mean, it's not always an actor's fault when they're in something that ends up being really bad. So, I don't know.
And maybe they hope it's going to be so bad that it's good. Like,
Yeah, I don't think anybody goes in
they'll
hoping that.
value. They'll love me. No.
Not quite with the
Not
GI Joe.
not
The,
The way the
the
way I
second
see
GI
it,
Joe movie.
the way I see it is like if this is one of the final scenes they film. I mean, they film out of order a lot on movies, but let's say that this is one of the final things they filmed. At that point, like if you've gone through this whole production and you know that it's just like a flaming turd, maybe you might act that way too, just because you're so glad it's over and you're just gonna, you're gonna power through this final scene and just be done with it. And that's sort of like the idea I got. You know what I mean? Like he's just like, let's get this over with. You know what I mean? It just I don't know. And I bet you that's what they wanted. Too, is that kind of mustache twirling type of overreaction villain thing. I don't know.
Now faster and more intense.
Yeah, well, the director was a hack, so I mean, it was possible he was telling him to do. He was just listening to the director, and he's like, "Okay, if that's what you want, I will give that to you." But that is stupid.
He's not a bad actor. This
No,
has to be laid at the direct. He's not a bad actor at all.
not. He's absolutely not. And I think that, but those were very interesting choices that he made, and whether he made them or whether he was being told to do them, I do not know. Let's talk about something good that Eccleston has done. Who's got something good they'd like to talk about?
Thor.
Or I think that's kind of the go-to that everyone's pretty excited about. Mark, what did you like about Thor: The Dark World?
I thought he was the best part of the movie, Malekith. That whole rage and the whole where he was seeking vengeance against the Asgardians. I said it before. The first Thor movie I thought was okay. I thought what bogged it down were the Earth scenes. I wanted more on Asgard and the realm of Asgard, and we got that in this movie, and I really liked that. I wish there would have been more exposition as to his background. They give a little bit about the war, about the big war between the Asgardians and Malekith, but I think he was the best part. And I'm in the minority of saying that this was a pretty good movie. I know there are a lot of people who hate it, but I really liked it, and I was really happy for Christopher Eccleston, even though you can't recognize him at all.
Yeah. Now, this is something I was trying to figure this out. Is that mocap and CG, or is that a mask and makeup?
I don't know, man. It kind of looked like a mask.
I'm fairly certain it was makeup and then with CGI additions.
Interesting.
Because like if you look at his eyes, there are certain lenses that they can do that are reflective and bright like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think anything gets made in that genre at least that doesn't go through CGI frame by frame and get re-rendered.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much true of any major movie at these days. Like, if it's an effects-heavy movie, like every shot in The Force Awakens had some CG in it. You absolutely, and especially the stuff with all the dark elves. I mean, most of that was fairly obviously green screen on a soundstage somewhere, because they're either on their spaceship or Asgard or that planet. And Thor: The Dark World is not my favorite of the MCU movies. In fact, if I were ranking them, it's one of my more less favorite ones, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. And I agree with you completely, Mark. In fact, my complaint is I wanted more of the Dark Elves, and I wanted more of Malekith. I thought he was kind of a one-note villain, and they should have developed him. And instead what they did was give more screen time to Loki, which I like, and give more screen time to Natalie Portman, which I also kind of like. But I think I could have done with a little bit less of that and more development of him as a character and his motivations, rather than kind of moving another chess piece forward in the rush to the Infinity Stones. So
I agree with you completely. He's a bit like Darth Maul. He's great presence, and he fights well, whatever. He's Darth Maul, but you only get so much of Darth Maul, and there's more to Darth Maul, like where he came from, how he was created, how he survived being chopped in half. So there's a lot of story to Darth Maul. I feel there's a lot of story to Malekith, and we didn't really get it. He outsmarts Thor. Why didn't we get more on his planning and the setup? Well, we didn't get much of that. That's what damages the movie. I still really liked it. I really liked it. I like it more than the first Thor, but I agree with you. There wasn't that much background, and it sorely needed it.
But I have to say, I really feel like they scored when they cast Eccleston, because one of the things that made him so phenomenal as the Doctor was his ability to be jolly, and then his ability to go completely dark. And so to see, him go completely dark, Eccleston, that was really exciting. I think, to get to see him as a bad guy who's really scary. And he has the power to back up his attitude. That was really cool, and I can't think of many other actors in his cohort that could have pulled it off. So I thought it was just a perfect cast of
Yeah,
him.
agreed.
I thought that was great.
Agreed. Melissa, do you have any feelings about Thor: The Dark World?
Yeah, I didn't really care for it all that much. Like you, it's one of the least favorite MCU movies. I think that and like Iron Man 2 for me just like are at the bottom in terms of how much I enjoyed it. If it wasn't for Eccleston and even Hiddleston, because you guys know how much I'm Team Loki. I've said that before. Um, I if it weren't for them, I think this would have been terrible. But they kind of saved it from itself in a way, just with their performances. And I was really excited, when they announced him because I was like, oh, good, GI Joe didn't ruin his career, yay, like this was something that I was really happy about the announcement. But um, yeah, the results were fairly mediocre, I think. I just couldn't get into it the way I did other MCU movies, and even the first Thor, which wasn't great, but I did enjoy it. I don't know. I I suppose his post 2 career, maybe this is a highlight, but only because honestly I haven't seen a ton of the stuff. I mean, he's done a lot of work
In
since
England.
then. He's been constantly working, and when he's not, like, what you don't see on IMDb is that he also does a lot of theater work. So, I mean, he's been very steadily employed, but I haven't seen a lot of, like, The Leftovers, never seen it,
Yeah.
This new show Safe House, never seen it. I don't even know if they've aired it here in the States. So I guess this is a highlight, but for me it was just disappointing.
Yeah.
Kate, what were
Oh, I was also saying I was looking at his Wikipedia page, and I was really surprised that he's also done a lot of voiceover work for radio, and I guess they got him as a Lego Dimensions character because he's listed on Wikipedia. I don't know if that's
Oh wow.
as
true as the Doctor.
as the Doctor? Yeah. Well, they've we talked about this a little bit that each of the like Capaldi has a bunch of dialogue in there as the Doctor, but then once you've played through the Doctor's level, you can change the Doctor into any of the other 12 Doctors, and most of them will have one line of dialogue. A couple of them have a bit more. Eccleston has a bit more. So it's probably likely that he came in and actually recorded that to throw that on there because the the uh, the Capaldi dialogue is all original stuff for that's on Lego Dimensions. Like he, uh, like if you have uh, if you have Capaldi Doctor and Peter Venkman on at the same time, he goes up to him and he says, "Who are you going to call? Hopefully a dry cleaner." And like he there are specific interactions that they obviously set up and things like that. So it wouldn't surprise me. I haven't played as much with Doctor Nine. I guess I need to go back and see if I
more than say like fantastic.
yeah, that's mostly what he says.
Already fantastic.
Yeah,
Bloody fantastic.
that makes sense. I mean, that's what people think of because I mean, there's not a ton of episodes of him, but oh well. No, that's though.
Has anybody seen The Leftovers? It's on HBO, and I know it got a second season.
Yeah, no, I'm at my limit for depressing shows. I don't think I could pick up another one as much as I'd like to. Yeah, I was kind of hoping someone had.
Well, there's this one movie I've been wanting to see. I haven't gotten around to it. That he comes out in. It's called Legend, and it has Tom Hardy playing two parts. They're two brothers. One who they're gangsters, and they were renowned gangsters in London. they had like a little empire, and people loved them. They were extremely violent, but they were also like real gregarious with people around their neighborhood and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So they had this cult following. It's a really interesting movie. I haven't seen it. I saw the trailer, and I actually tuned into NPR when they interviewed Tom Hardy for this. And it's really interesting how one of the brothers was gay, and he was very open about it. And it was back in the day where everybody was like so anti-gay, and like he got away with it because he had the muscle to get away with it. And it was extremely violent. So they played a clip of the dialogue on NPR, and it sounded fantastic. How you hear two versions of Tom Hardy go at it. And Eccleston comes out in this movie. I'm not sure what role he plays, but this is one movie I really want to see. As soon as I can, I'm going to watch this.
Well, it looks like he's playing another like kind of second gangster, like the second or third lead in according to the IMDb and Wikipedia pages. Yeah, this is one of those movies that I missed last year. Like there was a whole subset of like kind of mob movies that came out. There was that one and Black Mass and a couple of others, and I just missed them all, and I feel terrible. So I agree. I want to go back and see that. And then, speaking of our conversation earlier about Paul McCartney, I didn't know this. He was in a TV movie called Lennon Naked, where he played John Lennon,
and he was pretty good.
You've seen it?
Yeah, he has that that rhythm, that Lennon rhythm, Liverpoolian accent.
Mm-hmm.
He actually does very well.
What does it focus on? Like what point in time is this with Lennon?
Late Lennon.
So give me more, Mark. You're not giving me a lot to go on.
Oh man, this was 4 or 5 years ago. How long ago was this?
That this came out?
Yeah, it's been like at least 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I only saw it because I watch anything. I read and watch anything that has to do with John Lennon because he's like my hero. But it's 70s Lennon, so you have all that, the whole Yoko and Lost Weekend and all that and stuff. It's pretty good. I really liked it because he does a very good job of playing Lennon. And the other guys show up too. Ringo shows up, and not actual Ringo, but you have the other actors playing the rest of the band. So you kind of see. You know who else is in it?
It's Andrew Scott, Moriarty.
Moriarty's in it. He plays Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
It's. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. Somebody gave me a torrent download of it, or somebody let me borrow it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And I thought it was pretty good, but I haven't seen it in a while. It's been 5-6 years. But I can't really give you a good impression. I mean, it wasn't like fantastic, like you have to watch this right now, but it was pretty good. He's breaking up, getting divorced from his wife, and moving on to Yoko, and the band is kind of pissed at him. The whole Yoko thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's during that era, and a little longer into the 70s.
Interesting. That's a very that's a great time period for the Beatles, creatively, because that was really the era when McCartney and Lennon were not as much collaborating with one another, but competing with one another. And the stories about how they were recording the White Album would be John would come in with 3 demos, and so the next day McCartney would come in with 4. Right. And they'd just be these are all the songs we're gonna do. And it was, it became, we talked about Tug of War. You actually listen to the lyrics of that song. That was the first McCartney album that came out after Lennon died, and he's singing about this tug of war that they're having, and he's singing about John, absolutely, and how they were they were trying to outdo one another, and they were pulling on this rope with one another, and it made both of them stronger, and they can't let go, because if they did, then you know everything would go away. So it's this really beautiful, soulful uh, rumination on what the Beatles were, and his time in the Beatles. There's also a really beautiful song on that album called "Here Today," which is also about John. Which just um, there's actually this interview that he did that McCartney did right after it was right after Linda died, and he just remarried Heather Mills, and he'd put out this book of lyrics, and uh, Larry King was trying to like get him to talk about Here Today, and he's like this song was about John, wasn't it? And McCartney like wasn't having any of it, because if he did, he was gonna like start tearing up and crying, and instead he like starts telling Larry King about like his watch and how cool it is, and you're just like, you can
You just
tell
want to go
how
there.
like how yeah like how raw that was and how important that was, and it's like, geez, that was like 20, 25 years ago,
Right.
but this was, I mean, these guys were best friends, and it's one of those classic relationships, and so I'm gonna have to go back and watch this, as much of a Beatles fan as I am,
Yeah.
and
It's funny that you bring that up because this movie shows the rift happening. Like there's a major rift, but it's also kind of cool. Well, it's called Lennon Naked because it shows what possibly was influencing Lennon during that time. You know, he's breaking up with his wife Cynthia. There's Yoko. Yoko's causing a disturbance. There's starting to be this big rift in the band, but behind the scenes, something else is happening. He finally meets up with his dad, and it throws him for a loop. His dad, I forget his father's name, but he had been out of his life forever. And it turns out, those of you who know Beatles history and Lennon history, his dad actually kind of uses him to
yep,
get a record contract for money, and then he kind of disappears from John's life.
yep,
And it's during that time, so I think that added to his life confusion and broke up his marriage and kind of added more tension to the band because he's bringing in this baggage. I liked it. I liked the movie. Once again, it's been a while, so I don't remember every single detail, but I remember liking it and thinking he did a pretty good job as John Lennon.
cool. Any other things from the career of Christopher Eccleston that we should mention?
I have no idea.
Okay, well then let's. I think, I mean, he's underutilized. Let's leave it at that. Like, I think we all agree what a great actor he is, and there hasn't quite been the project that he's been on that really showcases quite how good he is. We get glimpses of it every now and then, but it isn't quite the same. Um, but quickly, Mark, you finally got to see the movie that the rest of America has been going gaga over the last couple of weeks. So why
Yeah.
don't tell us
Okay. So Deadpool. Bottom line, I liked it. It was funny. Um, but here's the thing. It's not a superhero movie. Not
nope,
even close. I don't know why people keep classifying it as that. This is this generation's airplane top secret hot shots. Almost. That's what I'm equating it to. It's a parody film, and I at the end of the movie I was like, okay, so what's the point? It was funny, but I mean, if they never make another Deadpool movie, are we going to be sorry? I don't think we are. And actually, I throughout the whole movie, I couldn't get Van Wilder's National Lampoon's Van Wilder out of my head. This was Van Wilder with red spandex. The jokes are the same, or are just as crude. I mean, you don't get decapitations in Van Wilder, but you know that whole crudity. It's the exact same thing. I'm not dogging the film. It's funny, but if people insist on calling it a superhero movie, like, no, it's not. It's a parody. They're making fun of every movie that we've watched before, and in a certain way, the joke's on us. But it's still funny.
But I mean, he even says, like, you know, that he's not a hero. He says it several times.
Well, a bunch of times.
And I honestly, I kind of feel like the point of making Deadpool was to show that they could. You know, there are sometimes in film they just want to make something to make it. You know, and I think it also was made because I don't know if anybody else is really. You guys are going to convention in Salt Lake, but Deadpool is one of the most popular characters that I see cosplayed at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yes.
He has been a comic, you know, I think your friend Brian called it, you know, a 13-year-old boy's wet dream.
Yep.
Or something like that.
Well, I had different dreams at that age.
Yeah. You know, because it's meant to be fun, it's meant to be irreverent and gross, and I think it hit all those marks. And you know,
that's the other thing. Whoever thought it's okay to take their kids to this, I'm not judging, but wow, why would you do that? Like,
you're totally judging. Shut up.
Yeah.
No, but you know what?
Right there.
Well, I don't mean to do, but yeah, okay, I'm judging. But you know, and I'm very liberal. I'm extremely liberal, but I don't understand people taking 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds to this, or even slightly older. Like, dude, no, like, I don't. Wow,
It's
I was surprised.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you are the one who gets to decide what is appropriate for your children. Fine, but at the same time, I can say, this is really not appropriate for children.
You get to see Nara's boobs, and you get to see, you know, you get
yeah.
I mean, Nara. Really gross, strong, but you still get to see, like, wow, that was not something I was expecting.
No, that is a very R-rated movie, but going back to Mark, what you said, I mean, that was exactly my point with Deadpool, is that Deadpool is and always has been a satire. Going back, I mean, the origin of the character was they wanted to make fun of Deathstroke, Slade Wilson in DC, and how violent and over the top he was. So they made this character, Deadpool, Wade Wilson, to make fun of him. And they just went crazy with him. And Deadpool knows he's in a comic book. In this case, he knows he's in a movie. And so he's making comments about the budget of the movie, and the producers of the movie, and the writers of the movie, from the opening credits to the final ending credits and the after credits sequence. He knows he's in a movie. This is 100% satire, and anyone who thinks that a 13-year-old is going to get that nuance, that's got to be a pretty freaking awesome 13-year-old. I mean, I was a pretty smart 13-year-old. I like comic books at 13. I would not have gotten how satirical this was and how much of a send-up it was of all of the tropes of the comic book movie. And that's what it is. So, but it's a very Deadpool movie, and so fans of Deadpool, you're gonna love it. If you're pool curious, as I like to say, then you're probably gonna enjoy it too. But for most of the rest of most of the rest of America was like, yeah, we'll go see this too, and they seem to have liked it.
Yeah, but for me, there's a disconnect between Marvel and Earth. It has no Marvel in it except for Colossus, and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, maybe, but it felt more Zucker Abrams than Marvel.
No, it certainly did, and it was.
And I don't know how they're going to connect it. That's the problem I'm having. Like, if they want to keep him in the continuity of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's
No.
like I don't understand how that even
I
can
think
come close to happening.
they even sent that up because it's like, we're going to go take you to see Professor Xavier. Well, are we talking McAvoy or Stewart? I don't know. This timeline's so confusing, you know.
Yeah. And that's exactly, again, Deadpool knows he's in a movie and he's making fun of who the cast is. So, but he doesn't have to worry about being in like the official Marvel Cinematic Universe because he's over in Fox's neck of the woods. And so, like, he will get to do X-Men movies. I would bet he will end up in a cameo in the next Wolverine movie. Or he will, I mean, and that's what really should happen. That's what Deadpool.
I'm not sure, man. You see, that's what I'm not sure about. Like, no, I don't see that working. And once again, I'm not dogging the movie. I had fun. It was funny. It was my teenage crude type of humor. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see how this is gonna gel with anything like at all. It has to be its own thing, contained as its own little thing. But there's dangers in that because if Cable does show up on the sequel, I don't know how you can use Cable in a future X-Men movie because then you'd have to force that connection, and it just doesn't work.
I think it makes sense to keep Cable out of it as long as possible until you have the need to bring him into the X universe, and they're kind of far away from that. I mean, they've really got to reestablish. In order to do that, they have to reestablish a new Cyclops or decide to double down on James Marsters and have an older Cyclops and be willing to do that. And I don't know where they're going to go, but that's at least like 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road. I think that what they're going to do, well, so we know Hugh Jackman's going to make one last Wolverine movie. And they've said it's probably going to be the Old Man Logan storyline. That's good.
Oh, tiny correction.
What?
James Marsden.
Oh.
Cyclops James Marsters.
Just Marsters.
Freaking awesome, by the way. Blackstone Copperfield Dresden.
That's what I meant. Not. Oh my gosh.
Sorry. It was
I
just
always do that.
Mental image was making me laugh, and I figured I had better say something before he snorted over here.
James Marsters.
Andy did admit that he's got a crush for the guy.
Oh well, I definitely do. I mean, and he was on Torchwood, so Anyway, anywho, no, yes. So, but I bet that Deadpool will show up for a tiny cameo in that, the same way that Hugh Jackman showed up in X-Men First Class. Like, they'll just give him like one scene. And then what would be really funny is if he's about to say the F word, and because it's a PG-13 movie, like Wolverine stops him and he says it instead. Like, that would be way funny.
But but Hugh Jackman showing up on First Class makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Deadpool showing up in a Wolverine movie after making a movie where he uses Hugh Jackman's face to cover his off of a People magazine makes no sense. And
Deadpool doesn't make any sense.
I get that, and that's fine in Deadpool world. But if you bring Deadpool world into the timeline of a real Marvel character,
can I say something as a person who doesn't read enough comics?
Mm-hmm.
I have seen most of these movies. I didn't see the X-Men movie that doesn't exist because I was told it doesn't exist, so I shouldn't go see it. But I feel like, if you kind of pull a Star Wars and just say, sorry, this extended universe is too much for us to handle as writers, we're just going to kind of ignore it. And so we don't have to worry about your timeline that you're really invested in because you've read all the comics, because we're just here to make movies and make money on those movies. Because I think from a financial standpoint, having having a Deadpool cameo would be hilarious, and you'd have a lot of fans who'd be very happy about that. I would love to see Negasonic Teenage Warhead again,
So would I.
movie, but in an X-Men movie, because I thought she was awesome. But I think that, you know, the more involved and that these Marvels movies get, and the more Marvel movies we get, the more clashes we're going to have with these timelines, and we're going to end up having writers who are just like, no, I'm not looking at these books. I'm looking at my stuff that I'm writing, and you know.
Well, the thing is, with the EU, they're dead. The books are dead. Right now, we have concurrent things happening. You can't just pretend like they're actually happening. They're in your face. So that's a little harder to pull off. Hey, Mel, did you see Deadpool?
I did. I actually saw it about a week and a half ago, and I had pretty low expectations going in because I'm not a huge fan of Deadpool because I find his humor. I think I mentioned this to be a little too college frat boy for my taste usually. But I really appreciated the fourth wall breaking. It was just like almost constant in this movie. It was, you know, um, I thought Ryan Reynolds, I mean, if you're going to get somebody to play this kind of character, he's really quite perfect for the role. I love the self-referencing throughout the movie. You know, overall, I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. You know, it's not like at the top of my list or anything. I don't really care about what it means for the larger movie universe over at Fox or whatever. I don't care about all that. It was a good way to spend like an hour or 45 minutes, whatever the hell it was. It was fun. And that's about all I have to say.
No, I think that's exactly how I feel about it too. It's like that was fun. I had a good time.
Yeah.
But I don't think it I don't know.
It
Deadpool
didn't
was
have to
never
mean anything. You know what I'm saying? Like people keep
Right.
dissecting it
Right.
and they keep, you know, trying to look at it from all these points of view and what it might mean for the future or whatever. I don't care. I don't think the point of this movie is to care. It's like Kate said, you know, they wanted to prove that they could make a Deadpool movie, and they did, and they were very successful at it. But it doesn't have to mean anything.
Yep.
We don't have to sculpt our mashed potatoes into Ryan Reynolds, you know, scary face, or you know, to make sense of the universe.
Although that would be kind of fun.
That one dude is so funny. I forget his name all the time. The
Jay Miller.
Is that his name? Silicon Valley guy?
Yeah.
The whole part where he's like, "You're gonna die alone."
See, I thought that scene went on too long for my taste. That's the problem I have with Deadpool, is that sometimes it's just like enough, we get it.
I liked it, man.
I blame Family Guy.
Yeah, I blame. Yeah, you're right. I blame Family Guy. I mean, yeah, there's a lot in there. Just as a crazy side note, the first time I ever noticed him, he was in a movie with Kristen Ritter, where they're actually not the two stars, but I walked away from it saying, like, those two were the best part of the movie. It was called She's Out of My League, and it had Jay Baruchel and what's her name?
You saw this on purpose?
She was in Wrath of Khan, and she's got blonde hair, and she's kind of cute, and anyway, the whole point was, like, they're dating, and he's like, oh, well, she's a 10, and you're just a 5, and so you can't date each other. And Jay Baruchel's best friend is T.J. Miller, and her best friend is Kristen Ritter, and like they hate each other, and the interplay between the two of them is the funniest thing in the entire movie. So, you know, as much as we love Jessica Jones and Kristen Ritter and T.J. Miller, like, that movie is worth checking out just for the two of them. Oh, and T.J. Miller is in a is in a Hall and Oates cover band, and
Nice.
they show up throughout the movie, and they're like like playing "Your Kiss Is on My List" and "Private Eyes Are Watching You," and it's just like, oh my gosh, this is awful and awesome at the same time.
Is it better than Neil Diamond cover band?
Yes, it is
Saving
better than
Silverman.
from Saving Silverman. Yes,
Because that's the best part of that movie.
That was definitely the best part.
yeah, definitely. Anyway, we've totally gone off the rails here, but thanks,
Again.
thanks Deadpool. That's what Deadpool does. But let's wrap up. So next week maybe we'll get to Brian Fuller.
Brian Fuller.
Eventually.
Before he actually comes out with the next Star Trek.
Yeah, sure. At some point before.
The day before we'll
Yeah.
finally break it down.
The first episode will finally air, and we'll be like, no, we still don't have time to talk about Brian Fuller and Star Trek yet. Yeah, but maybe next week, and next week we'll do David Tennant, and get to talk about all of David Tennant's awesome work ever since being the Doctor.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Jessica.
Come here!
We'll all do our creepy David Tennant.
Oh, if you want somebody who actually saw the one where he was getting married in Scotland, I have watched.
Oh my God, that is what made.
And I highly recommend it for the.
That is what made me think of this whole segment thing we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That movie, The Decoy Bride. Yes.
Oh, I love it.
You love it.
I love it.
And Melissa, I thought you hated it.
I kind of hated it.
It
Yeah.
was so bad, but I love it.
Oh my gosh! Then I'm gonna have to watch this, and then we're gonna have another Love and Monsters situation.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what's going to
It's
happen.
on Netflix. I think we should all watch it. That way we actually have something that all of us have seen to talk about.
Okay, The Decoy Bride. That's everyone's homework for this week. So
I'll watch it.
Go watch Jessica.
I'm sorry.
But you know what? We should all wear something purple to next week's podcast.
Yep.
No,
Yeah.
We can't tell that Melissa's wearing anything, but
Yeah,
at
let's
least
just
you.
say I'm wearing purple. I mean, we'll just say I could be wearing nothing and you wouldn't even know.
Whoa! This
Yeah.
just got steamy.
No. No, it just got very pale is what happened. If I really.
Well,
Awesome.
well, thank you for wearing whatever clothing it is that you decide to wear. We appreciate it. Thanks, Kate, for being here. It was awesome having you in town, obviously, and being on here. This was super great. Mark, Melissa, thank you as always for bringing it to the podcast. Loved having you here. Thanks to the Salt Lick Barbecue for having a TARDIS.
It was free advertising again.
And Amazon Prime are and powder milk biscuits from what is it? Garrison Keeler, like fake things. Anyway, yeah, Prairie Home Companion jokes. Those are very very trendy these days.
It's too soon.
Anyway, thanks everyone for listening, and thanks to the folks at Big Shiny Robot who host the podcast for us. But until then, next week, we will see you all next time.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.
And that's over.